individual. I think that freedom is always a production and not an expression. Freedom is always a production in the context of an affirmative and intimate struggle against, precisely, the desire of an harmony between personal or intimate orientation and social expression. For freedom, we have always to make a choice. And the real choice is always a choice also against ourselves, and not the direct and spontaneous expression of something intimate. I think also it's often a necessity to don't really respect the existence or the free growing of some others, because often freedom can be a matter of life and death. We have to struggle, we have to fight. I have certainly a conception of human rights, but it is an heroic one and not a juridical one. Third, I think that there exist real contradictions between some languages, between some cultures, and that it is not always possible to respect all cultures and all conceptions. The ideological field is a battlefield and not a soft and delicious place for discussions amongst friends. As Mao Zedong was accustomed to say, I quote him, "The revolution is not a gala evening." And fourth, it's a principal point. In one sense, I think, like all my democratic friends, that it's true that what exists, what is here, is always individual and cultures, bodies and languages. But in another sense, I know that there are universal truths which are precisely like exceptions or affirmative ruptures in the continuum of individual and cultures, of bodies and languages. And universal truths are not reducible to individuals, are not reducible to cultures, and not reducible to some normative correlation between bodies and languages, or between the individuals and the cultures. So I have to say no to any form of relativism. Political democracy is much harder than a negotiation between neighbors in their square. And it is much harder because, precisely, the existence of some universal truths, and not only of a multiplicity of individuals and cultures. I name this new difficulty, or this new possibility, or this new difficult possibility, political dialectics. And I shall be very short about the definition of political dialectics. We can see that in discussion. Probably once more 3 points, 3 short points. First, a new principle. There are only bodies and languages. There are only individuals and cultures, except that there are truths. Or what exists is individual and cultures, except that there are universal truths. The form of the exception is fundamental. I am not saying that there are individual, culture, and truths, like an addition. I am saying that there are individual and culture, okay, but in invental exception of all that, there are universal truths. Second, a truth is made of bodies, languages, individual, and cultures. A truth is a concrete process in the world. It's not something transcendent or inexistent. But we cannot reduce the effects of a truth neither to the individual action nor to simply cultures. And the question of a new political trend is today the question of a new relation between political action and truth after the failure of classical revolutionary politics. Third, to be free, question of freedom. To be free is not to find an expressive harmony between body and language or between individuality and culture. To be free is, it's my definition, to be free is to participate to the process of a truth. Participation to the process, to the becoming of a new truth. That is, in fact, the real freedom. To be, if you want, incorporated to a new body, a truth body. To be able to do something which is impossible. To be free is always something like our experience of the possibility of something which is impossible. A truth body can be a new scientific theory, a new artistic school, a new political engagement or organization, a new love. But in any case, the freedom is something new. Freedom is not the realization of something. Freedom is always the creation of something. And the creation is the law for freedom. In any case, freedom is to find at the light of something which happens, at the light of an event, to find that you can do much more than you believe you can do. It's another style for saying the possibility of something which is impossible. In the process of a truth, in freedom, we understand that we can do much more than we believe we can do. We are able of much more than our proper ability. we are much more than ourselves. That is freedom. You experiment in political field, but also in the process of truth in general. We experiment that there is no limits for our action and for our thinking. Because the truth is something eternal. A truth is a production in a world, but it's also something eternal.